Thank you, Mr. Meyer. And now you're stuck with me. A handful of questions I just want to sort of get my head around because I've read over certain portions of your testimony. We've actually been collecting articles for almost a year or two in regards to the technology of the subject. First one, is there a different scoring system between a kidney, a lung, a liver? Can anyone answer that? Is there a different hierarchy on both eligibility, procurement, how it's processed, how it's provided to a patient? Ms. Erickson, can you answer that?
Sir, kidneys are treated differently when it comes to Medicare reimbursement, which is why the Office of Inspector General itself identified that the OPO reimbursement structure is so susceptible to fraud, waste, and abuse. And again, that's grim. The pancreas gets credit in terms of keeping your contract for metrics and scoring.
No, where I was curious is I was reading in one of the journal articles I have that lungs actually have sort of a different hierarchy of score. And that may not be as part of the reimbursement. It's actually on how they're processed and handled and procedured. Does that ring a bell with you?
Not in terms of how CMS considers OPO performance, but if there's another rating, I'm not aware of it, sir.
Oh, okay. In the hierarchy of a decision of someone has circulatory passed away compared to brain waves pass away. One is 5 minutes, one is 90 minutes, but it is the hospital that makes that decision, correct?
It is the hospital that declares death, but one of the things that has come out through the HRSA's detailed report about Network for Hope and CODA in Kentucky is that often OPO staff get involved in that decision-making process in ways that they should not.
Okay, so at that moment, who is actually the to blame there? If organ procurement is hovering around, protocol is I have brainwave death, and that is 90 minutes. Ultimately, it is the hospital that is to make the declaration. Is it a shared responsibility? Is it the hospital's responsibility? Who actually, at that point, if you're the auditor,
right.
Who is actually to be held responsible?
It's the hospital's responsibility. I'll turn it over to Ms. Martin in a second, but I want to give one example of where there is a shared responsibility for what everyone is there to do. There is a case that's been shared with congressional committees out of Mississippi about Paula Dennison, which I'm sharing with permission of her family. In that case, a rural hospital in Mississippi declared brain death. Ms. Dennison's adult children agreed to organ donation on that basis. Now, let me be clear, that was a mistake the hospital made, but what happened next is unconscionable. Ms. Dennison was taken away by the Mississippi OPO, and she was cut into the next day to biopsy her liver, whereupon she started crying because she was not dead.
Is the term for that reanimate?
In this case, no, sir. This case was just, let me be clear, just a complete mistake. But what shocks the conscience is that for 19 hours, the Mississippi OPO did not call a physician. They did not tell Ms. Dennison's family. They kept documenting her responses to pain until she did not die. Her adult children then received a phone call while they were at a funeral home planning their mother's funeral. So to be clear, Congressman, did the hospital make a mistake? Yeah,
but
absolutely.
In that case, the OPO also did something
But the OPO, in what world a human being doesn't call a doctor doesn't make sense to me.
Look, right now I'm also trying to just lay out that if we're going to do policy, the hierarchy of responsibility. Ms. Martin, you had a comment on, is my understanding correct, brainwave death, 90 minutes?
No. So there's the two separate pathways to donation. One is through a brain death
Could
donor.
you do me a favor? Is your mic on?
It is.
Then pull a little closer, that's all.
Okay, so there's two different pathways to organ donation. The first is through brain death, and with those donors, they're just taken into the OR and they have the timeout and the operation has begun. The second pathway is through DCD donation. These are the donors that are brought to the OR. They're prepped and draped and they're extubated and given 90 minutes to about 120 minutes. It kind of varies depending on the hospital policy, but after that time that they have passed, when their heart stops beating, when they're in asystole, a declaring physician provided by the hospital will come in to declare death at that time after 5 minutes.
Okay, and so that's the declaration of death. The OPO has to wait, is there a period of time?
After they've been declared dead?
Yes, both
So,
either.
yes, so after the 90 minutes, there'll be a 5-minute hands-off period in which time the hospital-provided physician will come to make sure that the patient has died, and they'll declare death at that point. With brain death donors, death is declared as soon as the patient is declared brain dead by imaging or bedside exam.
Okay, thank you. That's actually helpful. We actually have been also exploring a series of articles on the cryopreservation of kidneys. You know, we've all been reading the articles of some of the genetic manipulation in swine, and even some of the attempts there to minimize anti-rejection drugs by some of the customization, and a fascination of what's happening there. We also, you know, so we're actually, as a discussion on, for those of us in the oversight committee, it's more than just taking a look at organ procurement organizations. It's also helping CMS and others build a set of hierarchical rules, as the technology, we believe, is about to go through a revolution. We've already seen, a simplest example, think where we were a dozen years ago in liver transplants. And then a cure for hepatitis C came along, and the number of liver transplants changed remarkably. We actually had liver transplant centers around the country close because of the, you know, Sovaldi and the cures for hepatitis C. We want to make sure we future-proof the policies that we're trying to encourage CMS, HHS, and others to adopt. So with that little bit of rambling, please be prepared for the next week or so. You're going to get some questions in writing. We've already had a couple members share that, and they will be made part of the record. And with that, I thank you for spending time with us today. And I really appreciate, because sometimes the stories are heartbreaking and hard to hear. Some of them, you understand the scale of the exploitation of the system. Ms. Martin, we've actually are digging into a couple things that were in your testimony of what looks like criminal fraud and exploitation of Medicare and Medicaid in the system. So thank you for everything you've all given us. And with that, the hearing is adjourned.